Two chili plants. Same variety, same pot, same soil, same afternoon sun. And yet, one of them suddenly produces far fewer flowers and fruit than the other, even though both look completely healthy. No pests, no wilting leaves, nothing obviously wrong. You're watering on schedule. You fed it exactly what the garden center recommended. And still, one plant keeps blooming, while the other looks perfectly fine and produces almost nothing. Sooner or later, this exact puzzle shows up in almost every chili garden. And the answer wasn't sitting in a garden center. It was sitting in an ordinary kitchen cupboard, in an ingredient most of us walk past every single day without ever connecting it to our chili plants. Here's the short version first. If your chilies suddenly slow down mid-season, fewer flowers, blossoms dropping, even though you're watering and feeding on schedule, that's usually not bad luck, and it's not a weak variety. It's often one specific, easy-to-miss shortfall, and it can be corrected with a single ingredient and a single spoonful. But here's the part that took me completely by surprise. It wasn't the ingredient itself that mattered most. It was something else entirely. Something I only understood once I was standing between two identical pots, staring at two completely different results. This isn't some brand new discovery. Experienced home gardeners have used this trick on their chili and pepper plants for generations, quietly, as a routine habit at exactly the right moment. It's rarely written up in a glossy guide. It gets passed along over the garden fence, gardener to gardener. I know this feeling firsthand. Two pots, side by side, in the same patch of afternoon sun, watered from the same can. One plant just kept going, flower after flower, fruit after fruit. The other looked completely healthy and still produced almost nothing. For weeks, that made no sense at all. Same variety, same soil, same watering, and two completely different results. The obvious reaction is usually, buy a stronger fertilizer, use more of it. That's exactly what I did for a long time. But throwing more of something at a plant that isn't actually short on it changes nothing. Standing between those two pots, it finally clicked. The goal isn't giving more, it's figuring out what the plant is genuinely missing. Here's what nobody tells you when you buy your first chili plant. What it needs actually changes as it grows. Early on, it's almost entirely focused on one thing: nitrogen, which drives leaf and stem growth and gives you that strong, dark green look we all associate with a healthy plant. Most garden soils and standard fertilizers are built exactly around that early leafy stage, which is exactly why so many of us never think twice about it. But once the plant starts flowering and setting fruit, everything changes. It's no longer just growing. It has to put real energy into blossoms, fruit set, ripening. That's a different job, with different demands on the soil. And right around that stage, something quietly happens. What used to be plenty stops being enough. Nobody tells you when that switch flips. You just start noticing the slowdown. Here's the part that had me completely fooled for years. The plant usually still looks healthy while this is happening. No wilting, no obvious disease. So you blame the weather, the variety, bad luck, anything except the real cause. But there's one sign that gives it away almost every time: yellowing between the veins on the older lower leaves while the veins themselves stay green. That pattern, yellow between the veins, green on the veins, is the clue almost everyone misses. I certainly did, for 2 full seasons. Once I finally recognized that pattern, everything else started falling into place, starting with what was sitting in that Epsom salt the whole time. Chemically, it's nothing more than magnesium sulfate. Magnesium and sulfur in a simple, water-soluble form. 2 things a chili plant genuinely needs, just in much smaller amounts than nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. Magnesium sits at the center of every single chlorophyll molecule. Without enough of it, a plant simply can't convert sunlight into energy as efficiently. And that's what quietly slows down flowering and fruit set, even when light and water are perfectly adequate. Sulfur plays a supporting role most people never hear about, helping build the proteins and enzymes a plant needs for ordinary growth. It rarely gets talked about, but it's part of the same picture. But that still left one thing unexplained. Same variety, same soil, same watering can. So why would one pot run short and the other wouldn't? Most garden soil actually contains enough magnesium for basic growth. A shortfall tends to show up specifically when demand rises during heavy flowering and fruiting, and it shows up most often in containers, for a reason that's almost embarrassingly simple. Picture an open garden bed as a deep, wide reservoir. Even after watering, there's still plenty of soil around the roots holding nutrients in reserve. A pot is more like a small cup. Every time you water, some of it drains straight out the bottom, and whatever was dissolved in that water goes with it. Do that for weeks, all season long, and a container plant is running on a much thinner margin than its cousin in the ground ever was. So two identical plants can simply hit that limit at different times. Not because one is worse, but because small differences in root growth or nutrient availability are enough to make the difference. One plant wasn't better. It had just used up its reserves later. That single realization changed how I looked at every plant in my garden from then on. Now, before you go grab the Epsom salt, one important caveat. It is not a fertilizer. It contains no nitrogen, no phosphorus, no potassium. The three nutrients a chili plant needs in the largest amounts. It won't fix a plant that's underwatered, sitting in poor soil, or not getting enough sun. It only helps where a genuine magnesium shortfall actually exists, and that shows up specifically as this yellowing between the leaf veins. If your leaves already look evenly green and the plant is flowering just fine, there's simply nothing to correct. And here's the mistake I made next. I assumed if a little helps, more must help faster. It doesn't work that way. More is not better here. Using extra doesn't double the benefit. It just builds up as salt in the soil over time, which ends up working against the plant instead of for it. The amount that works, 1 level tablespoon, fully dissolved, not left as gritty crystals, in about a gallon of water, poured slowly around the base. Roughly every 3 to 4 weeks, only during flowering and fruiting, never before. Early on, while the plant is mostly building leaves, it simply isn't asking for magnesium yet. And that left me with one last question, one I couldn't shake. If this is so simple, so cheap, and it actually works, why isn't it the first thing anyone tells you at the garden center? The honest answer turned out to be pretty simple. A spoonful of Epsom salt costs almost nothing and lasts for months. It's hard to sell, hard to market, hard to package as some new specialty formula. It's much easier to recommend a stronger, pricier fertilizer blend every time growth stalls, which is exactly what I did myself for years without ever looking at the actual cause. This isn't some conspiracy. It's simply that a one-time cheap fix from your kitchen doesn't sell as well as a shelf full of colorful bottles. Once you know that, you look at that shelf a little differently, not with suspicion, just with a bit more common sense. Not every growth problem needs a new, expensive solution. Sometimes it just needs what's already sitting in your house, used at the right time and in the right amount. Go take a real look at your chili plants today. Flip over a few of the lower leaves and check for yellow between the veins. If you see it, 1 spoonful, 1 gallon of water. Every few weeks during flowering. If you don't, leave it alone. Those 2 pots that once left me completely puzzled still sit in the same spot today. But now, when late summer comes around, they look the same too, heavy with fruit, leaning slightly under their own weight. The difference was never the variety, and it was never luck. It was one small, easy-to-overlook spoonful, at the right time, in the right amount. Go check your leaves. The answer might already be sitting in your kitchen cupboard, waiting for you to notice it.